Okay, I'm still I'm still on with the homeless people. I am just so sick because even if you don't believe in the weather manipulation, even if you can't wrap your head around that, and there's all sorts of it. I mean, it's been coming out, all the scientific facts and them releasing the documents and all that stuff. So the weather manipulation is real. But, if that's still too much to wrap your head around, then just knowing how many empty buildings and, like, especially knowing how, like in Mexico, like they don't even pay tax like in other countries too, which this too, that strange baby I was talking about the other day. So after that, this happens all the time. It's weird. Well, it's not weird. I just know it's like the communication, but it's weird in this world of how things work because it's different, but it's just different than how other people live, I think. I don't know, I think the whole group is starting to talk to me more. Like, yeah, like I don't know. Anyways, there's a lot more around, like, I don't know, I'm hearing so many people talk about that though. But, so this woman, she was talking about, she's a doctor who works in infertility places. And so she was talking about these and, the people coming in who are trying to have babies and stuff. And so they are putting, how they have to, lab create the embryos because, that's what they do. And then they put them in, they don't lab create them. They take the sperm and they spin the sperm and then they take all the best sperm out and then they put them with the ovum or the egg or whatever. And then they take like a little needle, I think, and inject as many as I think they like scoot, they put them up in a syringe and then they take a needle and they inject. Yeah, they would only, I think, I don't know how many they're allowed to inject, but I mean, that is where some of these women come up with like 10 babies or something, right? Or is that the part where they get all these embryos then that are growing fetuses? Because maybe they're only allowed to put one. I don't know all the details. But once they do that, then they take the embryos and then they put those in the uterus. And then it's how many attach. And that could be where they come up with so many multiple births because they put too many in. I don't know. It's all just testing and ethics. That's how science works. So this woman was saying that they are doing that all the time. Like they're having these people come in and they have both. They have ones that are, ones that both are, ones that one is, and all sorts of mix. But she said they keep seeing the same thing is the embryos are turning mutant. Like they start growing all sorts of weird shit. And she was like, this is very concerning. Like, I don't know what the hell is going on, but if this is what we're seeing here in the lab, then we're going to start seeing it in the public, a lot of mutations, and because there's like massive mutant genes going on here. And so, which took me straight back to that little baby, which takes me to, I mean, I think most people realize now that it had nothing to do with the flu. It was a chemical compound that was meant to create it was to put certain things inside of people, but it was also to pharmaceuticals create the dependency, but it was also to defeat your immune system. That was the big one in that, because they were going to start hitting us with so many other chemicals. That's what the doing is. That is the chemicals mixed with the frequency and all this stuff, and then how they have people's minds in such a fragile state. And so it's all of that stuff together, because you have to have a strong mind to have a strong body, to have a strong spirit. And that's why they beat people down, to be at their lowest all the time. But so, that those things were nothing about, smallpox or whatever, you know, nothing about that. No, it was, had a purpose, but it wasn't what people thought it was. So then, and, you know, it's bullshit too, how they put that all in the paperwork to cover their asses and their wording. It's like such a fucking shit, you know. I mean, it's no joke where you have to go, you know, you have to be like a legal expert to fucking just, goddamn, and then they want us to do these terms and conditions on every goddamn thing. And it's all some bullshit. So anyways, when you realize that this program that has been, it was started in the countries that were poorer and darker before they moved in on, you know, the dark people who think that they have more freedom than the other people, and then the white people who are just the droids, you know, that'll always become more compliant, more, yeah, I mean, you can even turn them on to, you know, become a Karen, you know, going out as your super soldier. I will, blah. You know, it's just weird. But anyways, so in the other countries where they've been testing this first, and then I saw that baby, and I was like, oh, man. And they wouldn't be telling us, you know, oh, yeah, like in India, 200,000 mutant children were born this week. You know, they're going to tell us that. So, you know, that baby maybe wasn't some mechanical thing. Maybe, I don't know. It was, I can't even tell you how unusual this was. Because the body looked, it looked like it was like too formed to be like an infant. Because it looked more structured. It had all infant clothes on, but it looked more like, I don't know. It didn't look so floppy and mushy or something. It looked more like kind of like a stuffed toy baby or something. I don't know, but and it was more stiff, like it wasn't all bent and stuff. And then and so it had this body, but then this head was so. But there is people putting weird stuff live. So it could totally be something somebody created and they're making a whole video page for it. I mean, there's people who do weird shit. Like, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, and it's all, like, coming to a head, too. Like, I saw this video this morning, this woman, and I was, like, it's so strange. Because she was talking about her comments, how they keep attacking her, and she lives off grid, and I don't know her content and stuff, so she must show stuff about that. I don't know, maybe she's political and rubs them the wrong way. Maybe she's you know, against school education and rubs them the wrong way. I don't know, but these people come in hard on her, and they tell her how ignorant she is, and she's just like, you know, stupid religious fanatic, like hillbilly person and stuff, and no intelligence. And I see that is how the super soldiers work, which is the progressives. And it's so strange too, like how the ones that are still locked into the narrative, you know, because not all of them are, but you know, there are some that definitely are. And some of the videos I've seen, it's fucking, oh my God, it's mind-boggling. Like, are you really this stupid, or are you just out to murder people? Like, what in the fuck? But I did see this one doctor, and he was talking about gabapentin. And gabapentin was one of the big ones I was on for a long time, and that is the one in court. No, it was Topamax in court, because see, they put you on all these cocktails, and remember, mine all started from migraines, and then it was, oh, it's the scoliosis, that's, you know, it's all these twists in your back, and it's the muscle spasms, and then you get side effects from that medicine. So then you need medicine for GERD, you need medicine for your lipids, you need medicine for goddamn every fucking thing, and pretty soon you're on a million medicines. But so he was talking about, and remember, like 6 years ago is when I weaned off all of them, 18 at one time. And some you could just drop immediately, and I did. But some you had to wean down off of them, which I did. But I used the RSO. So that maybe masked, I would imagine, a lot of, because it was difficult when I was doing it. It was you are withdrawing, your body's withdrawing from all of these different chemical compounds. So it's really, really, like, I can't even remember all of the problems I was having. I think I was definitely having headaches. I don't even remember all of this stuff. But anyways, I did it over, I swear I was off of everything within 2 weeks from the time I started. And this doctor, he was talking about gabapentin. And I was on the highest dose that you could take. And that is also one that they always want to put Stella on, is the gabapentin. And so he was talking about not a single person should ever be taking this. It is so bad. We are about to have so many people who are going to find themselves addicted like an opioid, because this was like, okay, this was our step down from opioids. He said there's no reason for anybody to be taking this, and they're giving it out like candy, and it is going to cause so many problems. And he went through all of the lists, which is all symptoms that people have, and so people, they just and when the news tells you what the symptoms are for the other thing, well, then that's what you focus on. So the he was saying that a whole bunch of bad things, but that how many problems it causes for us. And so then I was like, I'm glad I got off of it. And see, if I would have heard him say all that, I would have been like more intimidated and stuff. And but I didn't even realize how it had that many issues, and that was just one. And I was on such a huge dose, and but and that's what they try and do in court. Well, that's what's wrong with you. You didn't get a brain injury in the hospital just because we didn't have any blood, any CSF in your body for a week. That's no big deal. Like, yeah, but the whole medical system just works together. It's just all fucking corrupt as fuck. But I'm already skipping around. So one of the things, let me think. I'll just, if I've dropped myself off on things, hopefully I'll just catch it back up. But on the homeless thing, this is what was really getting me. Like, oh, so many people are talking about the wind chill factor and stuff. Like, even up, I think, by the Dakotas and Nebraska and stuff, it's even going to be like 55, or I even heard one guy say 65 below. But with the wind chill factor, I heard a lot of them say there's not going to be as much snow now, but there's going to be so much wind that it's going to seem like a blizzard blowing what snow there is. And they're saying definitely don't be traveling, I think Thursday or Friday, if you're over in the northeast, and then, or Midwest and Northeast. Our storm must already be here. Like, I've got, like, I think it must be 2 feet of snow out there. It just was dropped so suddenly, and it's so deep. It's yesterday I even went out and I was trying to like knock it off of my carport thing, and oh my god, it was so heavy. I couldn't even do it for very long, and it is so motherfucking cold out there. I couldn't believe it. I was doing it for a few minutes. Oh, and one thing that is cool is why, no matter if you've got issues with anybody, you should always just deal with your issues as they're your own. You can't go fix other people and make yourself happy through others. You have to deal with your own issues. So anyways, I think that helps me, keep relationships good with neighbors, because I could turn into, some crazy Karen woman too. I mean, a lot of older women do, it seems. So, but it's all the pain and suffering they carry. I know that. But, but because of all the snow, there was no way I couldn't get out or anything, but they have a 4-wheel drive truck, so they went to town, and so I got some stuff. They picked me up a couple bags from Target, so I feel like, and it was only $50. And it's so weird because I got like 4 bags of stuff, but I got all stuff I need, but I don't know. I always keep seeing all these people with I don't know if it's because I'm getting more basic stuff, and maybe it's because they're all like trying to buy a lot of meat or processed foods or something. I don't know. But I just got like butter, sugar, um, which I saw this person just talking. I don't know what they are, if they're a nutritionist or whatever, but they were saying the most important thing that your body needs is glucose, but it's glucose from starches, and that you should be eating fruits and vegetables. You hear all these different diet people, so, but I always just take in the information. But she was saying, because I've been eating so much like potatoes and stuff. Like, I swear to God, my main staple of my diet is cookies, bread, potatoes, and vegetables if I have any fresh vegetables. But and kombucha, so vinegar. But the potatoes and bread, so those are starchy. But she was saying that those starches create glucose, and then your body's energy depends on the glucose, and that's the most important thing to have in your diet. And so I think, as if I don't know how far we have to go into anything about this food shortage or whatever, I'm just kind of thinking like how much of it has to do with just, the what people are having to deal with in these storms of not having stuff, and especially over on that one side, it is probably going to be no power, and that no power can definitely affect over here because our power grids can go out too. Like, I don't know what all is going to go down with this storm. But that when it hits over there, because I'm already in the midst of our storm, and it's already freezing fucking temperatures, and but ours aren't as freezing as, I mean, we're at like 6, and we don't have that wind like that, what they're saying it's gonna be. And but when I was outside doing the carport there for just I don't know, I would say I was out because I was waiting for him to come with the bags. So I was like, well, just get myself up out of this chair, out of this warmth, and go out into the freezing fucking cold. So I put on like sweater, coat, my big fluffy snow boots, which my snow boot, the Sorels, the fancy ones, they were buried in the snow. That's how deep the snow was. It went up over my boots. It was like, I don't know, like a couple, maybe an inch or two below my knee. It was like deep out there. And it's so heavy. Stella is so sore. She was out there playing when I was out there. She was playing and running and ever since I started doing the composting out in my garden, it started drawing more animals and more birds. And so I have a whole bunch of squirrels and birds in my yard. And this was funny because I have been going and throwing out like bread and stuff like that for them. And so I had been feeding them, and instead of throwing away food, and then the other food I put out in the thing, and they'll go dig around in it. And so when it got really cold and freezing, you can't get to the bread. And so I was sitting here, and the birds, I kept being like, oh my God, a bird's flying into my window. And it was like a bam. And then I saw it fly away. And so I was like, oh man, so it must be okay. It flew away. But I guess I'll find it dead out there. It was dead. And then it was another one, and another one, and another one. And they started just like coming up and hitting the window. And so I was like, oh, they're telling me they want some food. And so I had all these bagels, which I was like, I didn't even know what I was got because I don't know why. I mean, I like bagels, okay. I just don't like to eat them. But I had a whole bunch because when other people came, they like bagels. So I had some in the freezer, but I don't know. I'm just, part of what I'm being driven to do is just kind of emptying stuff out. And so my freezer is getting, maybe that's because we're going to be with no power. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm going to be leaving here. I don't know. Maybe it's because my house can burn down. I don't fucking know any. I only get listen to what, they kind of tell me at the time. So I've been kind of cleaning out my freezer. And so I had seen those bagels. And I was like, oh, I could take those bagels because out on the trees, they've got all these like broken branch things coming out of the trunk. So they all have like these little spikes all over on all different trees. Especially with the evergreen trees, because they'll start growing branches down, so you have to like cut them off from the bottom. So you have a lot of these sticking out. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go put them out there on them like a, like that. And so I did, and oh my gosh, they were so excited. They were, I went and put more out there. Then they were coming and sitting up on my porch. They were coming and sitting by my, there's like a big branch that goes down right there. They're coming and sitting on the branch. Like, just, this one was, he was so cute. He's so big and fat. And, sitting there like he's just so happy and stuff, and then coming up, and then when I go out there, they start singing to me. And so then I got everything out of my freezer. I got everything because I'm out of bagels. I was like, okay, so when the bagels are gone, I'm just going to start sticking other bread things on there. And but I'm going to start at the food bank. I start getting a bunch of bagels and putting them, because there's always tons and tons of bagels, and start just hanging them out there for them. They really liked it, but it's so cute how, and then the squirrels were coming down and they were going and eating them. Oh my gosh, it was just the cutest thing, like a little wildlife thing out my window. I'll just stand in the window and watch them, and it's just so cute. And especially so cute how they'll come up, like, they'll come up and sing to me and stuff. It's so cute. But when I was out there, and so I was waiting for my stuff, and I started trying to get some of the snow off of my carport top, and I need to probably get more off of my greenhouse too. Like, there's a lot of snow up on there. So, and oh God, it was so heavy, and I was like trying to do it with my arms, and I've been carrying all these big, huge things of wood in and stuff, and so I don't know, my arms were kind of like spent. And so but I was, I swear to God, it was like 15 minutes or something. And my hands were so cold. I felt like my fingers were going to come off. So I came in the house and I went up by the fire, and I was sitting there trying to do all this stuff to get circulation back in them and stuff. And I was just thinking, oh my God, how are these people doing this? And then I was like, okay, don't be arrogant. Like this, a lot of seasoned homeless people go through this every fucking year. They do all sorts of things. They know all sorts of tricks and skills and things to keep themselves warm. Like, I don't know what they do, because this is so extreme. But, I think that this is gonna, especially because there's so many new homeless people. There's so many people who are becoming homeless, and they're forcing homelessness on anybody who is even like emptying out those trade wind kind of hotels and stuff like that. So, and so many people, I don't know, so many people just aren't even thinking straight, I swear. And fighting with people, and then, going out and living in their cars and stuff. So it breaks my heart so much as single moms out there with little kids. It's like, fuck, man, I just can't even. I swear to God, can't even imagine. That to me is where I would probably say I would prostitute myself in order to, have shelter for my kids. Like, that's why we really got to move out of judgment for anybody, because everybody, I think anything can be pushed, and we really have to understand, where, what is that, son of a saying or something, where out thou I go or something, like, other people, what happens to other people can just as easily happen to me. And that's what people have to understand. And, we learn so much compassion from this. But, so I'm sitting there with my fingers freezing and just already having that on my mind. And then I finished all my stuff. I sit down and start doing TikTok. And this girl I was following, she comes on and she goes, I know, this is really hard for me to do. I didn't even want to be seen like this. And her nose is about, I don't know, twice the size its normal is. maybe 3 times. I don't know, it was much bigger than normal. It was kind of reddish, but it had like a fucking giant, like it looked like her nose just tore open or something. This huge like wound. It's like, because her nose was so much swollen. I mean, it's hard to do it on my nose. My nose is bony, but so hers was really swollen. So the sore thing was like, oh, it was really big, which made me think about leprosy. And so then she was telling the story how she got it, and she said her nose was much smaller now because it was like she went camping or something, and then she woke up and it was like 14 degrees, and her nose was hurting, and she said it felt like my nose was sunburned, and it was hurting really bad. And then she saw it was red and it was swollen, and it was really big and red and swollen. And so I think she went in or whatever, I don't know, but by the time she got home, then her nose started like blistering, she said, like under the skin. So she had some sort of frostbite or something, I guess, that she got. And, when I was out there with my fingers, and I was thinking, man, how many people are going to be going into the ERs, like with their fingers? Oh, God damn. I swear to God, sometimes the stuff they show me, it does is so sickening. Oh, so sickening. Oh, it's rough, man. I know that, that they have to show so we see, and, it goes through one person and goes through us all. And it will hit everybody, and it will come in all different ways. But, one thing people are so lacking is compassion. And the reason I say that is people's attitude about the stuff. Some people, how they talk about this whole homeless thing. But, it was making me think about the lepers and, leprosy, and how this skin stuff, I mean, man, all these people who are out in the cold, like right now, will be marked. Like, I don't, even if you can handle 0 temperature, 65 below, they've already said that it's like freezes your lungs after a couple minutes. Like you can't be outdoors. But, that is going to be like a sudden death, I guess, for a lot of people. But just with all the people who have been out here already before that happens, like, oh man, it makes me sick. Fucking little kids and shit. Like, god damn, this is so sick. Especially, when you know how many empty houses they are. And they could be, it's all this greed. It's all just to take from us. It's all just to make us just be their workers. And, this whole thing with Westworld and the white people and awakening and seeing, and then the whole thing with how much oppression was being done to these people in such a heinous way, to all of the, I don't know what else to call them, but the original people, for, they're all darker. And, but all of just the way that they created so much division, with white people in their minds, to even think that somebody else is less than them or something. And when you hear some of the stuff on the comments for the guy talking about Mexico, if you go and you listen to people who are talking good about Mexicans, and you see, people's attitude in the comments, and then the but all, there's a lot of people, that are, I'm sure, being marked by this weather. Like, I mean, it was eating her nose off, and just that fast. She's doing all of this homeopathic stuff, and so she's showing it now because she wants to show how she heals it. But it was so big and red and swollen, it took a while to get down, and still when she showed it, it was big and red and swollen. And she said it was so much worse. It was like, and she said how bad it hurt. It's just like, man, I hope that there is, I don't know. I mean, everything is each soul's thing. Like, we can't overstep on someone's free will. You know, even a mom out there with their kids who doesn't have anywhere to go. Like, you know, if you know of somebody like that, I would definitely, you know, offer them a bed, offer them a warm place to at least get through the storm. So, you know, and it's so weird, you know, for me out here, you know, where I've ended up being and stuff. And I was thinking so much about that because our homeless people are squatters. We don't just have homeless people out laying in the streets. It's way too cold. It is you know, and yesterday it was snowing all in Bellingham, but then it wasn't in Seattle and Olympia. So you know, I don't know about all the different stuff. I mean, I'm not that far from there. And in Canada, I think it was, I don't remember, it was Alberta where they were saying, but it was already 35 degrees below and the wind. And this guy was showing some hacks that, so he was like, you can get bubble wrap. You know, it'd be hard to do at this point, but kind of like where the people, you know, prepare for the hurricanes. So I don't know if you have much time, but you get the bubble wrap, which you can go buy a whole thing of it at like a U-Haul store. You could buy a big roll of it, and then you spray water on your windows, and then you cut it and line it in your windows, and it insulates the windows because so much heat is lost through the windows and so much cold comes in through the windows. So he said do that. So, you know, that was a good one. But another thing, so oh yeah, so while I've been here, you know, and when I moved in, it was like shortly before quarantine, even though we didn't see quarantine coming. But it was, you know, and I was already trying to be active in the community. So I had met some people, but I hadn't formed real relationships. And so I, you know, and it's just been me and Stella. Well, it was me and Stella and Winston for a while. And then it became just me and Stella. And so I was just, the past couple days especially, it trips me out how smart she is. Like, man, she's so smart, and listens. Like, to me, she's so advanced. Like, and the whole thing is I know it's not just like her. I know it comes from the relationship. I think every dog has the potential, but so many people don't, you know, tune in to their dog, like, you know, in that way, like to really focus. It's like you develop some sort of telepathy, and the language barrier becomes less, and the communication becomes more. And it's just like, you know, when I'm outside doing stuff, she gets like totally tuned in. And even yesterday, I was sitting here and I was thinking, you know why because I was doing something, because you know how dogs see different. And so I was doing something and she'll get whiny. And then I got up, I think I turned on music and I was dancing. And then she sat and she was watching me like she was really interested. And a lot of times when I start dancing, she starts bringing me toys. Like she wants to, you know, get on all the action. Let's play. And but she was just sitting there and she was watching me. And then she seemed to like get satisfied and she laid down. And then it was kind of like what I saw was like a color. Like if I'm like a color, like she like picks up on some sort of a color or a vibration that she can see. And so that is like, even like, it feels like if I'm like sitting in my chair too long and absorbing in it, because I'm telling you, I can go into other worlds that are, you know, and not realize that, you know, I've been sitting here for a long, long time. And I think it is kind of like as my color dims or something, she starts harassing me to get up or go out or something. Like she watches over me. And I don't know why, the whole color thing, it was just somehow they showed me and stuff. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And of how she tries to get me to do things and stuff. But I don't know. I just think like there's a whole development in our relationships with other species, just like these birds come in and start going and flying into my, because they could see me sitting here, and they start flying into the window to say, hey, don't forget about us out here. And so I was just like, it was weird when, it kept happening. I kept thinking, man, why do they keep flying into the windows? Like, well, that is so weird. They must not be flying too fast because they keep doing it and doing it. And then when I started seeing like, oh, they aren't just, because at first I even thought they were like dive bombing this little display thing I put when I moved stuff around the other day, and I took that, I had a bench that had the plants on it, and I put my trunk over there. But I took the bench outside, and then the wood got delivered. So he had all of these rounds, and some were long and some were short. So I made this whole little like display thing on the bench, and then I put like evergreens and pine cones and stuff, like my little winter solstice. Today's the winter solstice. Today is supposed to be, I don't know, a magical day. Oh, I saw this lady yesterday. She's the one who was talking about the ice wall was being managed by demons or something. But that was a while back. She could have come further from her understanding at this point. But so she had 27,000 followers, and then she woke up and had almost 200,000. So, and she was like so excited. And it was like overnight. And so she was just like, oh my gosh, that is crazy, but that is things where things are going to start turning the other direction. And, the more and more the truth is going to be exposed. Just like that woman who was talking to those people, she was pointing out like their dependency on the system and thinking that that is smart. And, just this consumption of chemicals, and how smart is that? I just saw this video too where this woman, she was sitting there making a sandwich, and she was waiting for her, I think she was waiting for her bacon to cook or her toast or something. So she's standing there, and so she said she started looking at the ingredients, and she's like, oh, I'm so sick of this. And so she had bread, and she turned over the bread, and it said it has in it, I don't remember the name of the thing, some weird chemical. And then it said that you should not take warning, you shouldn't eat any of this chemical. And if you toast or heat this bread, it makes it way worse. So you shouldn't, or it will make the chemical way worse and be way more toxic. But we're not telling you not to toast it or something. It was something so absurd and so ludicrous. I mean, I think if we read the small print, it's all just ridiculousness. And so she was just like, oh my God, I just can't even believe this. And the whole thing was saying, it's causes cancer, hormone disruptor, all this stuff. We got all these people, the hormones are jacked up. Like, I wonder, if we compared a man here with a man in another country that doesn't have these hormone inhibitors and stuff, if there would be like here, we got all these men with problems with what is that, like an ejaculation problem or something. Can't think of what it's called, but why they started doing like Viagra, like they create the problem. And then now, besides Viagra, they have way more of those. And if you go to a shop, a sex shop or whatever, that they have all sorts of those, like in little packages for like a one night kind of thing. And and those aren't even, like, I don't even know what else on those things. I'm sure it's like the same kind of thing, but you don't need a prescription. And it's enhances that area of blood flow or something. That's what it all is something with blood flow, I think. But so, I wonder if without all of these hormone inhibitors and stuff, if men wouldn't be having those problems. And then where we have all of these men that are becoming so much more passive, but then you have all these really dominant women who are super liberal, and then they're super dominant and aggressive, and then they want the men to be super passive. It's so strange how it's really strange. It's like, are you going to go out and do all of this stuff that men do? Like, you're going to, man, like, I know, Vortex works on cars and shit, but, man. Like, and I've known a lot of women who do, but there's a lot of jobs that a lot of women, that prefer men to do. Like, I would like to be as, that independent, to be able to do every single thing for myself. But, I've seen where so many people have been talking about, like, our whole grid system is dependent on men, because men will go out and tolerate the weather and all of this stuff to keep the world running. And you're not going to find a bunch of women out doing it, even though if you have some women, but you've got to remember, we have masculine and feminine in all of us. It's the balance that you find. And so some, could be born feeling way more masculine than in their feminine body, and really motivated and driven to do certain things. But that doesn't mean every single woman has to follow along. There's a reason why there's two different genders, and it is so that we work together, so we have people who they're better at some things and we're better at some things, and when we work together as a team, then we're more productive. And that is another thing too, even with like with community and stuff. When, being over here and then going through all this, not only have I, learned so much about myself, about relationships with other species, and, the communication, and just how much I learned just sitting and listening to Stella communicate with other dogs in this Morse code that they speak in, and it's like a pitch too. There's a certain bark that means like, someone's walking down the street. There's a certain bark that means distress. Like, they have a whole communication system. And, but the other thing is too, is seeing that I'm, how the importance of being in line with their community. God. So you gotta, it isn't just like moving into a beautiful place. It makes a difference over the people you're around, and if you're in alignment with them. And I think that is going to be a huge part as people start building communities, is, keeping in mind, it does have to do with your group, who you're around. And one thing too, this one was saying, because I think everything is going back to that, the roots of things. That's why I say, it's going to be socializing in communities, and that there would be bands or, musicians from that area who would play, and people getting together to dance and, sing and have food and cook and celebrate, like back in the olden days when things used to be like that. And then where they've taken us is just so dark. And so I think we're going to go back to that, but I think it is important to, consider where you're moving and who you're around if you're in alignment. But that one woman, she was responding to the text with the people, saying how she was just, ignorant and all that stuff. That they say you just go to church or something, and she goes, what's wrong with going to church to socialize with your community? Like, there, where she lives, she's an hour and a half away from a town, so she's real far. So the people in her community is really small, and then they get together or go meet up at the church. See, that's what the church used to be. I think that is how the church has become, it was a good way to funnel some of this toxicity into our world, because the church has done a lot of it. Like, man, some of the stuff I've seen coming out about some of the stuff with churches, and oh my gosh, and what some of them are involved in, and it's, there's so much that's going to keep coming out. There was, like, I always knew that there was crime and corruption around the church. It was way too much about money, and then the misleading about God. I didn't have it all put together at the time, but I just didn't trust it. I knew it was corrupt, and I knew it wasn't something you want to dedicate your life to. And I just know a lot of people, when they're waking up, they go, just got to remember, even if you had a relationship with God, separate yourself from the church. Don't think because the church's God isn't real, that the God you carry in your heart isn't real. The God that you have created in your heart, that you worship, is the real God, not the God that's about to fall apart as the church goes down. So don't get, confused by the two. The church's God is separate, and it will go down with the church. And it is, it's all this manipulation of, the control over the people. But, what was I about to say? Was it, I don't know why, with my mom. There was something else I was about to say about the, I feel like I'm skipping all over the place. Maybe it is that I see a lot of people that they, when I was watching that Out on a Limb thing, when people start channeling, or, when you're trying to listen and translate what you're seeing and hearing and stuff, it is kind of exhausting. But some of those people, they go into a trance where they have these other people speak through them. And, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like that I don't know. It's weird, because sometimes I do feel like it is that it isn't like, I don't know how to explain it, because it is like it's more like you're kind of in like a union with the speaker in you, but sometimes it does like change your voice or something. But some of them, they'll change into a completely different, like that one guy on the Out of the Limb, he changed into a completely different people, and he could be blindfolded and see without, because the spirit could see. You didn't need the what do they call it, not the tool, maybe they call it the vehicle, I don't know, but didn't need the physical eyes. And then even in her apartment, he knew there was a hidden wall bar, and he walked over with his blindfold and opened it and stuff. It was trippy. So, that's another level to me. I'm just like listening, and I feel like it's just because, I've thought about this a lot, and I just feel like it's just as easy for me to hear, just because they've been talking to me for so long, since I was a kid. So it's just easy for me to hear and to realize, there's other people talking in my head, especially when you get, how I started hearing them, where I was going to go do something, and then they started talking and telling me. So then once they started talking, and they were probably talking to me before that, once they started talking to me, then, they just always have talked to me. So I think they've always talked to me, so anyways, but don't get frustrated if you're trying to, tune into your gods. There's a lot of people who have been spiritual for a long time who have a really hard time and have to go into deep meditation to hear So it is, but it's, if you are interested in doing it, it's just something to work on all the time. It's just practice, just quieting your mind. And you quiet your mind by not reliving the drama and thinking about everything all the time, because there's so much going on. Your brain's like fireworks going on. And then the more you can quiet it and stuff, that is how you start hearing, because it is a very gentle kind of whispering. And when there's something that comes in super loud, because I've had, where something came in that one day, even a couple of weeks ago or months ago or something, where it was like this aggressive, like yell right in my head, this word that I didn't even know what it was meaning. But, and I don't even know, like, I could have been picking up on a neighbor yelling at somebody. Like, it's so hard to know, because it's hard to get people to, like, some of the things you say, I know those sound so crazy, but it's because it's hard to understand. But like, your brain is like this receiver. It's just this energetic receiver. Your hair is your antenna, and you need your hair, and it's just in fashion, fry your hair off. And so that right there will interfere. Then the toothpaste, that with the fluoride, that'll interfere. And then you can do a lot of detoxing and stuff. But anyways, you are a receiver, so we're way more open than what we think. Like, the shell, the vehicle is it's like an illusion, but it's so weird because of how we think, like with real life and flesh and blood and all that stuff. But when you start realizing about energy and just, and I was even thinking, or whatever I was thinking, they were showing me this morning this whole thing about, in the beginning, because every experience is created by the creator. So every single experience, all the stuff with the homeless and all this stuff, every single thing is created, and the creator is the souls. So in the beginning, like on this stuff with the Mateos DeStefano on initiation on the Gaia channel, I swear he said something about this, but it's something about, like, in the beginning, like there was souls in, like, because of everything is energy. So it is like a big bang. So energy becomes so explosive, it explodes into this energetic explosion of energy just, ready to experience itself. And so energy explodes out into just free energy. And then certain energies gain into conscious energy and start becoming conscious of themselves, and then start to begin to ask the questions. Then they start being able to witness themselves. That's this 3D, 4D, 5D thing, is how, because the 3D is so you have like a model that you can see. So you can, I just heard this too. This girl was talking about, she was talking about on Orange is the New Black. She was saying that there was this part where, I think she was saying like Lolly and Holly or something. Anyways, these two people were talking and talking about something about humans are dolls, or something. Have you ever thought about if we're just all dolls and somebody's just playing with us? And this girl who was doing this TikTok thing on it, she said that's so weird they were talking about that, because that is what I always thought when I was a little kid, that we were just dolls. I used to tell people all the time, we're just dolls and there's somebody playing with us. And, we can't do something just because we want to do it. We can only do what the doll tells us to do, or what the person tells us to do, or the being or whatever. And so then I was like, oh, and see, that goes right with this whole idea about the dollhouse and the doll figures, and so the three-dimensional projection, to be able to go into this 3D experience, to be able to witness and see itself. And then the 40 is standing back to look at yourself. And then it keeps going. It's all of an expansion of perception of life. But if we are the creators, so because I was sitting there thinking, man, like, we are the creators. Why did we ever create so much horrible stuff? Like, it all had to come from somewhere. Like, why didn't we just create all wonderful stuff? And so every experience had to be created and manufactured by us, by souls. But in the beginning, there was less souls, and that is where all the souls come from, these other souls. And I don't know if it was like 13, I mean, it was like one main soul that had consciousness, and then another, and then another. And then there was 13, and then we all come from that 13. Because if that 13 became another explosion out into, but see here, there's something about the 13, and there's something about like deities and stuff. Like, I don't, if those are the spirit entities that we all, come from. But then they all go up into being of one. So, but I'm just talking about like on a spirit or energetic level. Because, like, we can come down and we can, create all the dolls we want. And our higher self can sit there and play act them out all they want. Because that is exactly what it is like. Everything is destined. We don't have a choice. We are all just playing this dollhouse until you realize that you're in a dollhouse. And then you start questioning and understanding things on another level and looking at them more thoroughly. Because this place is so limiting in our understanding of who and what we are. And, that's the way they want to keep it. And I just saw another thing that I hadn't thought of it in this way, where somebody was like, oh, what was it? So this person was saying, with all these solar flashes coming in all the time on the planet, and them to keep trying to block them with all of this aerosol. So maybe what they're doing is trying to block that energy from coming in and waking people up, because that energy is what carries thought, carries messaging, what carries downloads, what carries this energy to promote thought and promote awakening. And so the solar flashes are to help wake people up. It's this changing of the frequency and energy. And that is why you have to keep, healing to change, to match, to meet up with the higher frequency. And that's why, like, if you're not staying on top of it, you won't, I don't know how long. I mean, it could be like 20 years. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, today, you better hurry up. You better heal everything, because if you're not done by today, you're fucked. No, I mean, it could take a while before we're actually experiencing heaven on earth, because we still have so much pain and suffering to go through, this purging out this toxicity, because there's so many people who have been holding on to it for so long, and they don't realize, and when they see, what they're holding on to, it's going to be hard on them. So, we still have to go through all that. So, but this constant solar flashes and stuff is to keep raising the bar for humanity, so that you keep, practicing becoming better towards yourself, and better towards all of humanity, better towards all living things. And so you, but for the age of Aquarius, the actual age of Aquarius, heaven on earth, to get to that experience is, that is us. We're the reflection of that, because we are all healed, and how we treat one another, and how we observe, and how we what we prioritize. And there's going to be such a movement on love and respect. But see, people aren't capable of that as long as they are in pain and suffering, and they haven't healed their own problems, their own guilt, their own, trauma. So, anyways, there's all of that stuff that to go through, but there's a whole thing about, oh yeah, so if that was coming through, and they are putting that up there to block that, and then all these chemicals, so if they're doing, everything is just to continue to block people from waking up, because they're just trying to keep them from ascending. And is it, I don't know. I think it's part of the challenge of the game. I think it is just part of how this like ascension process works. Like, it's a challenge. It's not gonna be easy. If it was easy, everybody would just be doing it. It's a challenge, and you have to want your life to be better. You have to want it to be different. The other day when they showed me that whole thing with the bag of apples, and it's this rotten bag of apples, everybody gets handed this rotten bag of apples in life at some point, and then it is all by your choice what you do with the apples. Are you going to sit and cry? Maybe use the bag for something, use the apples for like what you do with it, because you can take the seeds out of the apples and plant your own trees, and then you have a forest, your own, what is that called when they have all the fruit trees? You have your own surplus, your own supply. And so there's nothing, but it takes the growing, the looking outside of the box, the expansion of self, to see what you can do with what you're handed. But it also has to do with your attitude. And yesterday they made it like, they're always just telling me this stuff. But yesterday it was also, you make your choices every day by what you focus on. So if you're focused on what you don't have, then you're going to just keep feeling like you don't have anything, because you're always thinking about what you don't have. But if you focus on what you do have, and you have gratitude for what you do have, you're putting out a totally different energy. And it is that energy is what is going to draw back to you that what you want. So, and then when you are putting in your, like, it's like, I wouldn't say putting in your order, but you can't order outside of what, you can't put in your order, I'm going to be a millionaire, if that's not in your destiny. You can't force it to happen. So, you have to, there's everything is about balance. You have to also, be willing to go with the flow. But it's the energy that you put out has to do with the timeline you're on. If you're on a timeline to learn to love yourself, or if you're in a timeline to, like, where you're championing yourself. So it is like this energy where you put out where, oh, poor me, everything sucks, everyone sucks, life sucks, nothing goes right. Then that is, your vibration is going to pull more of that into you. That's going to continue to confirm how you feel. But if you're going out like, oh my God, I'm so happy, gratitude, everything is wonderful, life is good, and it's hard. These are challenging times while so much horrible stuff is happening to people, to keep a good attitude for yourself. But, you can get focused on that and just feel beat down. And then, you're going to leave with everybody else, because your vibration will be low and you'll be beat down and stuff. So that has to do with that spiritual aspect of self, where you realize there's a bigger thing going on here. And every spirit, every soul has its own unique experience designed for them to go through this. And so to us on the outside, yeah, we can sit here and be judgmental and think that looks tragic and horrible and stuff like that, but that's their soul's journey. And so a lot of souls are leaving right now. Like, I mean, I knew that was going to be coming, and you know, it's sad, and it's also very kind of like, I don't know, it's like reminiscent of the times, but it's reminiscent of all times because of just, you know, throughout history where people have frozen to death, you know, and we think back of like that being so primitive. That would never happen now, you know. Now we're so progressive, you know, that kind of thing would never happen, but here we go. There's going to be a lot of bad stuff, you know, and I don't even know, because in England and they're having horrible weather stuff too. In Canada, there's something I know with the three of us together, England, Canada, and America, and you know, there's something about our leadership, like they were all working together. Like we didn't have as much separation as what appeared to be between the three of us, it seems, from all the stuff I'm hearing all the time. So I'm sure that there's a lot of places combined like that. But like our taxes were going back to England, and you know, there's like so much stuff. Like they just all work together to just, you know, create the hellacious world that they want us to live in. So anyways, I've been talking a long time, but I don't even know if I got everything said that I wanted to say. But you know, just do everything you can to stay strong through the storm. And you know, it will be temporary, but it's gonna be hard as shit. Like, fuck, oh my god, I just can't. Like when they're, you know, that one movie, and it's on my playlist too, the one where I was talking about that they don't census indigenous women, so it makes it so easy for them to be victimized, because they don't even count them. It's fucking sick. But in that movie, I think it's called Wind Song or something. I think it starts out, I think it's a crime movie. And I think it starts out with this girl running, and she's running from somebody or something, I think, but it's so cold. And so there's a whole thing about the cold and what it does to your lungs while you're running, and even if you're just outside, what the extreme temperature does to you in the cold. And there was a whole thing because she ran so far. She was so strong and powerful in the movie. But anyways, when they talk about that, and then thinking about like what these people, and then somebody saying that yesterday about the within a few minutes, I don't know, your lungs will freeze or something. It's like, man, it is, god damn. These people are just so evil. I don't know. Is there a good way? I mean, they're doing it with chemicals and poisons, and they want to just shoot something. Like, it's just evil. I don't know. Just the whole thing of, but even if I say like it's evil, then it has to happen to wake people up, because it's more evil for us to all stay asleep. So, and bad things have to happen to wake people up. So, you know, that's how it is. There really is no, we really got to get away from judging good and bad and evil and all that stuff, because it all works together. And they've shown me so many things, you know, I'm not even kidding. Like, it is exhausting sometimes all day. And some of this stuff is really, really sad. So sad and so tragic. And, you know, and I don't even know some of the times when they're showing me stuff and I'm seeing specific people, like, or in a general concept. Like, I don't even know. Some of the stuff, it just is like flashes, and it's kind of like fast, and it's not like it's not like everything is shown like in a movie or something. So like flashes, and then sometimes it's like a picture, but it moves out, like you just see everything about it from just seeing it. It's weird, but there's all sorts of ways, you know, just, I don't know. If you're trying to work on it, just be open to all sorts of communication, because there is all sorts of ways that they communicate. And then, you know, really try and get out of the whole thing with doubt. If you get stuck in some place where you keep doubting yourself and doubting yourself, try something different, or ask for confirmation. Ask for confirmation in a different way. Like, if you're understanding, for them to show you this, like you can say, you know, if I'm understanding you correctly, if I'm getting what you're saying, then show me, you know, make sure somebody today says blah 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 or whatever, you know, and that kind of stuff will happen. Oh my gosh, I've had some of the craziest ones. This one was really funny because it was a question I had asked them. You know, I'll ask them questions even though they are like, we have told you this 100 million times, yet you come to us and ask again. So anyways, this was like a few years ago when I was really confused about a lot of stuff. And so I said, well then, you know, if this is true, then I want you to say eagle. Like, I want to hear eagle 3 times today or something like that. And so I'm sitting here watching this movie, just out of the blue, weird movie. I don't remember what it was. But then all of a sudden in the movie, it starts saying, the eagle has landed. The eagle has landed. The eagle has landed. The eagle has landed. It kept saying it and saying it. I was like, okay, guys, I heard you. So that is, you know, you really do start forming a fun relationship with your guides when you start acknowledging them and really try and focus on communicating with them, and they'll communicate back. Also the numbers thing, a lot of times if you're trying to understand something and they're telling you something and you're like, oh, I'm just thinking this, I'm just making this up in my head, you know, this isn't, or maybe you're trying to question yourself on how you feel about something, and you can look, and the number patterns will, they talk through numbers. And so you have to develop your own, what you see when you see that number. Does the number seem out of sync? Does it seem off balance? Is it telling you everything's in alignment? Is it counting up? Is it, you know, so you'll develop your own way of communicating with the world around you. You know, you just have to be open to realizing that world around you is dying to communicate with you. So anyways, now I've been talking a lot, but hopefully I said, you know, if I didn't finish everything, then I'm sure I'll catch up again sometime. Even though yesterday I was like, oh, I forgot to say this or that. And I was like, oh, I will tomorrow. I can't remember at all. Like, I really feel, I don't know, out of it. Like, I just feel weird. I feel so weird. I feel like I'm just barely here. I feel like I'm trying to keep myself inside of a dream or something. It's very strange. But okay, I'll talk to you later.